Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and the purpose of this video is to figure out what you probably need for your web project. Whether you are starting a new podcast, creating like a local club site, or you're starting a small business, or you're creating a whole new application, what is it that you need? Okay, because a lot of times people will just hire a web developer, spend a lot of money, and only needed a fraction of what they got, and sometimes people try to spend too little and are not able to get what they want because they're cutting the wrong corners for the wrong project. So hopefully this video will line up what you're trying to do with what the right approach is and whether you need a web developer or not. I'm a web developer, and I'm more than glad to do like a free consultation just to kind of explore what your project is and figure out what the right solution is for you and whether hiring someone like me is something you need, and whether it's going to be of value to you, because I like to create value. I want to make sure that you get what you need, because that's how I make a living. So you can always, this is my website, Alex Merced Web Developer. You can see some projects that I've done just to kind of get an idea of my technical skills, my podcast, whatnot, all my bona fides. But also this video will be very informative as well. And if you do want to hire me, you just hire me by just email me at hire@alexmerced.com. Okay, and I'll put that in the video description as well. So let's start with the most basic of a need for a website. So let's say you just literally need like a page because maybe you have like a local community group and you just need a page that explains what the group is, links to like the Facebook page, links to the meetup group, but really all the actions on the meetup group and the Facebook page. So you really just kind of need an online spot. So do you need WordPress? Probably not. Even a free WordPress site might be overkill for such a project. This is the kind of thing where I highly recommend things like Google Sites. I love Google Sites. As a web developer now, I don't use it for like applications or more robust websites. But if I'm just creating a page that's just simply informative, you can quickly create a page really quickly using Google Sites. So for example, my portfolio page that's mostly all hand coded by me, I have a page where I have all my projects from when I was at the coding bootcamp with General Assembly. And that I just did with Google Sites, because I just want something that I can quickly display and add links. It's not anything fancy. Now, keep in mind, this can take a second to load. But yeah, no, I quickly made this just with this is all what you see is what you get. So if you don't know how to code, you don't know anything about web development, this literally there's no way to kind of go wrong here. You can quickly make your site. It is very limited in what you can do visually. So far as like templates, as far as being able to change the colors, you're very, very limited. Okay, but again, if you just need a page to get some information out there, this is a great free option that you can get up quick. It's up online, and you can connect domains to it if you wanted to. So this is a cool tool. Okay, and then here you can see some more of my projects. You can access that from my portfolio website. Now, but what if you are not just putting a static page of information? Maybe you are going to be like blogging, okay? Okay, then maybe if you're just going to be doing a personal blog where you're going to be blogging about things that you're interested in, and this may or may not become sort of a side source of revenue, but you want to start blogging, WordPress.com may be an option. So WordPress is the most popular sort of content management system on the internet by far. Okay, it allows you to manage the content on your website in a very visual way, and WordPress.com basically does a lot of basically makes it where you don't have to worry about any of the back-end technology as far as having to actually install WordPress on the server and find hosting and all that stuff. And there's a decent free package for you to just do basic blogging. The big catch is if you want to have like your own domain, if you want to get some of the other cooler capabilities of WordPress like plugins and whatnot, you're going to be very limited with a free package. And the paid packages can get expensive. But you don't have to hire anyone to set up anything for you. So the trade-off may or may not be worth it. Generally, I'm a big fan of having a WordPress install on your own server space because it can be very affordable and it gives you a lot of flexibility of what you can do. But the downside always is when you have your own server space, you then have to start worrying about like security issues, SSL certificates. There is a lot of little things, and this is where you start wanting to kind of have a web developer, okay? But having a web developer to install WordPress, WordPress, configure it, figure out, theme it, all that kind of stuff, can be very affordable, okay? You know, at the probably at the low end to just do the basic install setup, get you train you a little bit on WordPress. You're probably looking at like, you know, a $500 a WordPress install, which, you know, is pricey for what it is, but versus, you know, paying like 20 grand for a website designed front to back or even more, not that bad, very affordable. And then again, that $500, you're talking about like having a decent hosting package. You're talking about you know, making sure certain things are in place, SSL certificates, not just installing WordPress. Okay, and again, if that's the route you want to go, we can talk. But WordPress is an option. Now, what if you do have some web design chops, you want to, or you have a web designer who's just going to create a static page. So basically they're going to do the HTML, they're going to do the CSS, they're going to do the JavaScript, but it's still not like a blog. It doesn't really have like a database of blog posts, a database of users that needs to be managed. Then there are other options like Netlify, okay? Netlify can be free, and they can also be not free, as you need more from Netlify. But its free package is quite robust. And literally, once you create a website, it's just a matter of dropping a folder or connecting a GitHub repository. Okay, it's pretty straightforward, really easy to use. And again, they have some more robust packages as you start creating more heavy-duty websites. But the free package, again, you're making just a basic static website. You can connect a domain to it. I don't think there's an extra charge for that, which is pretty cool because a lot of places will try to charge you an extra charge for connecting a domain name to your page. So Google Sites and Netlify both offer you a free package where you can pretty much put up a lot of really basic websites, especially if you're only doing really basic stuff. You can do it for free, connect your domain, and it all looks pretty cool. Cool. Now, let's say you want to do something a little bit crazier. You want to create an actual ground up application, meaning you have some sort of idea. Let's say you want to create a social network around scissors. So this is basically what it does, it catalogs all types of scissors and allows people to review and talk about scissors. It's all about scissors. Okay, you're gonna need a database that keeps track of users. That database also needs to keep track of all the records for every type of scissors and all the comments on those scissors and whatnot. Now you may be able to kind of shoehorn WordPress into that, but oftentimes trying to build like a social network into WordPress, which there are plugins for doing that, which can be sort of oftentimes a more affordable route to go, but oftentimes can be a little clunky. Okay, while there's plugins to literally turn WordPress into anything, and you can create new WordPress plugins. That's another thing you could hire me to do if you want, or customize a WordPress plugin or whatnot. Depending on what your use case is, it might be less clunky, you're better off just creating a fresh application. But this is going to take a lot of work. Why? Because not only do you need a database, but you need to build all the infrastructure on top of the database, authentication, session, all this stuff. So this is where you start getting into, hey, you're probably going to have to pay a web developer like myself a decent amount of money because of the work that's going to need to be done. Okay? But in the beginning, let's say you have this startup idea and you want to get it built. You're going to spend a little bit of money on a web developer, but you really don't want to get killed with hosting and whatnot. One option you have to create like a prototype so you can show like venture capitalists and whatnot is Heroku.com. This offers you a lot of back-end functionality, so that way you can run you run your own server like a Node.js, a Go. Again, your web developer would know these things, and your web developer would recommend what's the best technology stack for you. Generally, what you're going to hear from web developers is that if they're doing the website in PHP, they're going to be using something like Laravel. If they're using Go, they're going to use Buffalo. If they're using Python, they're probably going to use Django or Flask. If they are using Node.js, they're probably going to be using Express, Koa, FullTS, Next, Nux, Nest, There's a whole in Node. There's a whole bunch. And if they're using Ruby, they're using Ruby on Rails or Sinatra. Like there's a lot of what's called a web framework that helps manage the web developer and their server. And Heroku allows you to kind of have that capability. Not only can you build the front end of the website, the part that people see, but allows you to use a web framework to create a server in the back end that's going to manage the database, manage all sorts of other things that are going on behind the scenes. And then they have a free package, which allows you to do a lot for free. So if you're just creating a basic prototype just to show investors, this is a great way to go. As you start using the website in a more production sense, which means lots of people are going to the website and using your website, signing up for your application, then you're going to have to start paying at higher levels, which does get expensive, but they do provide you with a lot of infrastructure. There's a lot of things you just don't have to worry about because you're using Heroku. And while you could theoretically, if you knew how to do all those things, you could do it much cheaper. It's like anything else. Like I could save money by going to a restaurant if I, by cooking the meal myself. But I'm not going to become a chef, become a mechanic to do all the things in my life. So you have to figure out what the trade-off is. For is like, okay, how valuable is the convenience to me for my application versus the price? Because as you get to those higher levels in Heroku, the price does move exponentially. That's generally the service. That's generally what happens with a lot of these free services. They're very awesome. They're very robust, and they give you a lot, and you get a lot for that free package. But the idea is that the convenience, the benefit of it, kind of locks you in, and hopes that you'll pay that sort of higher price later on, which may be worth it for you. But just so you understand, it is expensive. Python Anywhere is another option, but this one is specifically for Python built projects. So this is going to be for like if your developers are using Django or Flask, whatnot. I've deployed a few things on Python Anywhere using Django. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to use. So if you're a web developer watching this, Python Anywhere and Heroku are great places to kind of get your back-end chops and practice making small projects as you build your repertoire and cut your teeth in that more full stack type of development, where you're building sort of a robust level. Now, more than likely, okay, if you're thinking that your application is going to be used by like millions and millions of people, you're going to want to do something a lot more affordable and scalable. I mean, these things can scale, but again, it gets expensive. But again, a lot of conveniences. There's a lot of things that are built in for you. That means your web developer doesn't have to do it, which then theoretically, potentially can save you money on what the web developer is going to bill you for. So again, trade-offs. You kind of see what your right trade-offs are. But the other option is to use one of the big cloud providers. So that's going to either be AWS, it's Amazon Web Services, or Google Cloud, or what am I thinking of? Oh, yes, Azure. That's Microsoft. There's a couple other ones too. I think IBM has a cloud service for enterprise and whatnot. But these are sort of the big three. Amazon's sort of the biggest, and then Google and Microsoft are sort of also in this category and competing fiercely. But what they're going to do is they're going to provide you services that are not charged like on a monthly fee. So usually many hosting packages for basic website hosting, you're paying like a monthly fee for basic, like, hey, I got some space that I can install WordPress on, which again is a decent option. But here, what they'll do is they'll spin you up sort of a virtual computer in the sky or in the cloud that you can use to set up your server. So your web developer would set up the server, deploy everything. This does mean the developer has to do a lot more as far as the initial setup goes, because you don't have the tools that like Heroku and Python Anywhere give you to just plop the website in and make it work. But the actual infrastructure is a lot cheaper. Okay, so what you might be spending like $50 for, as far as bandwidth and server space and server speed on one of these other networks, you're probably paying a few pennies for using AWS, Google Cloud, Azure. You're literally maybe spending a couple bucks a month, and as the website scales, it becomes a very affordable. But then you're going to need that developer who's going to maintain that infrastructure, like basically make sure that everything's working fine. And it's still a lot better than what it used to be. Once upon a time, you used to have to get your own 24/7 route server. So you'd actually have to have a team, an IT team who would maintain that. You would maintain the network, maintain the server, a developer who would be constantly watching for bugs. You'd have this full-time team. Now you're talking about, hey, you might have to have one developer who's constantly monitoring your cloud infrastructure, and they might not even have to constantly be doing it. They may have a roster of clients that they serve, but there's going to be continued services you need from them, and making sure that your cloud infrastructure is going well. Because again, a lot of that's going to be configured manually. But again, you don't have to worry about uptime. It scales automatically. So basically, suddenly, if there's like 1 million people who visit your website, the server's going to scale. So you don't have to worry about, oh, my server broke today because too many people visited the website. You basically have the same access to the same infrastructure that a billion-dollar website has right off the bat. You pay for what you use. So as you use it more, you will pay more. That's the benefit of these cloud. And then you have prime infrastructure. You don't have to worry about a lot of the aspects of configuring it. There are certain aspects you do have to worry about configuring it. That's where the web developer comes in, at a very low cost. Okay. So I mean, these are your basic options. You can actually really, if you want to do WordPress and you want to do it very affordably, actually spinning up like a server on one of these servers and having your web developer set up a WordPress here is actually very affordable. Again, the only issue is there's no hosting company for you to contact if something goes wrong. So if you use something like a HostGator or Bluehost, which are your traditional hosting companies, so bluehost.com, essentially what here is your vanilla web hosting that people have been used to for years. It's good stuff, and you can install WordPress yourself pretty quickly with a one-click WordPress install. Your package comes with your SSL certificate. It comes with a lot of that basic stuff. An SSL certificate is secured, basically encrypts the information being going back and forth from your website, which is good for security, but it doesn't mean your website's 100% secure. Okay. Before I knew a lot of the stuff that I know now, I had WordPress sites on hosts like Bluehost, HostGator, whatnot, and there's a certain level of security you have to make sure you manage yourself, because if you're not careful, you're installing a lot of plugins on WordPress, you could open yourself up security-wise, and then your whole hosting gets botched. Okay, and then you end up having to pay like a third-party security company hundreds of dollars a month just to monitor for that malicious activity, when you were thinking, hey, I was going to get a $4 a month hosting. I hold no grudges. So again, security is oftentimes not an issue till it's an issue. So keep that in mind. But this is a definitely affordable way. If you're just setting up a basic WordPress account, you can install that WordPress literally with one click. It's not a bad price, and you get a full WordPress install, which means if you're doing podcasting using something like really simple, serious podcasting, makes this like a super affordable way to run as many podcasts as you want. But again, if something happens to your hosting, you're like, at least here, you can contact Bluehost and they'll give you support. That's one of the benefits of going with a hosting company like this, that while I could probably achieve the same thing with the Google Cloud for like pennies a month, so set up a server, install WordPress. Actually, I've done that. So for example, this WordPress install is done with Google Cloud. Okay, I spun up a Google Cloud server, I configured the server myself, and I literally right now pay nothing for this. Okay, it did require me to spend some time up front configuring that server, installing WordPress the old-fashioned way, which is fine for me because these are things that I want more practice in because I'm a web developer. But it may not necessarily be what you want, or you can hire someone like me to do it for you, and then you save the money over time, because you will only have to pay more as the website gets visited more. Do visit my website. Force me to spend money with Google. Share it with your friends. So yeah, and then for example, like my portfolio website, alexmercedcoder.com, that is hosted on a service kind of like Bluehost. This one particular GPD host. But I mean, this front page is just a static website, and then if you go to my portfolio page, that's actually hosted on Netlify. Okay. And again, none of this stuff has backend. I don't have like a database that this is working off of or anything. This is actually using, and this is one of the main reasons why you hire a front end a developer, because while WordPress has a lot of themes and stuff like built in, if you're especially worried about speed, nowadays a lot of websites are built using what's called a single page application, where a lot more is done on the front end versus in your back end server. which speeds things up. So this is like a small a single page application using Stencil. I've done single page applications using Angular, React, Vue, Svelte. This is just one in Stencil. But like the benefit is like take a look at how the speed. Let me go back to the main page so you can see it. Like when I click profile page, okay, it switches fairly quickly. And if I go back up here and go back to the main page, it's pretty quick. I click on blog, it loads up pretty quick. And notice like the whole website doesn't refresh. Like when you on a normal website that doesn't use a single page application, every time you go to a different page, you're gonna see that little like flicker. So let's see, it's refreshing. Okay. Oh, what happened there? Oh, I went to the wrong URL. There you go. But like let's say I click on GitHub. See how there's that moment where the website is white? Because it's reloading the whole website again. That's what happens when you don't have a single page application. So you go to each page, it's a complete re-render of the whole website. Okay. And I think that's a single page application because I didn't see a flicker on this bar here. So that's the benefit of going that route. It's faster, especially for very large, heavy traffic applications. So if you're building like, you know, a website that has a lot going on, that may be a route you want to go. That you definitely want a developer for. Cool. So to summarize it, basically, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, one, what's the purpose of this website? If it's purely broadcasting information, and this is not to like a huge audience, it's like a local community personal project, then probably something like Google Sites is going to be good enough. If you are going to be like blogging and keeping track of information, then the question is, you know, would a one-click WordPress install really kind of satisfy what I need, or even a free WordPress.com blog might satisfy what you need? Again, if it's like a personal pet project. Now, if you're going to start, if you're a small business and you want to build a website for your business, WordPress may still be the right choice, but you may want to bring a developer to help create a unique theme for your website, help you consult with you regarding what plugins you may need, because if you download the wrong plugins and a plugin sort of, you know, stops getting developed, and now you're stuck having to reconfigure your whole business because you use the wrong plugin. So you may want to bring in a web developer to consult sort of what's the best way to use WordPress or some other content management system for your project. Okay, now if you're talking about more robust applications, then you're talking about a full stack application where you need a web developer who's going to sit there and configure your database, configure your web server, and then build out your front end website. So that way, and then also kind of think about all the security issues, think about the hosting issues, and that gets expensive. But when you're building an application of that scale, it's worth the money. But hiring someone with that scale to build out your, you know, blog about cooking, maybe not. So you contact me, I'll make sure that you're paying the right price for what you need. And first, we would discuss what you need. And again, you can always reach out to me at hire@alexmerced.com. We'll figure out what you need, and I'll quote you a price. We'll go from there. Worst comes to worst, at least you know what you need. Whether you go with me or you don't. So that's a little bit, that hopefully gives you a better idea of sort of what are the different options when it comes to hosting. There's a lot more possibilities. There's a lot more considerations. This is just scratching the surface. But hopefully, whether you're a small business thinking of hiring a web developer and trying to figure out what you need, this helped you. If you're a web developer who's trying to explore what are my hosting options, hopefully this was helpful for you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter, on all the social networks, and check out my website. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day.